There's just so much involved in music that is beyond the music itself. And all of those things have enriched my life in ways that honestly I never would have imagined. Hi, my name is Kelly Zimba Lukić, and I'm the principal flutist of your Toronto Symphony Orchestra. My mom was part of a musical family. She played the flute all through middle and high school. And so when it came time for me to choose a band instrument, we had a flute, and my mom was able to help me. And so that became the most natural choice. The experience of beginning the flute was kind of a disaster, actually, in some sense. I really struggled to produce a sound on the instrument. Like it just felt really awkward. And I was a pretty short kid. And so the flute, I felt like my arms were all the way out here and it was just so cumbersome to hold for a little bit. And so I actually had a very like awkward start with it in a way. And so it took some time to um, kind of get past the frustration of those initial beginnings. And eventually, once the sound did come, things really accelerated from there. So I never had the clearest idea when I was in school that I wanted to be a flutist growing up. I was interested in a lot of different things, and it kind of got to this point when I was in high school where, your guidance counselors are encouraging you to figure out, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go to school and all of that. And I always kept coming back to the question of like, oh, if I study this thing, will I still be able to play the flute and practice and get better and all of those kinds of things? And then, one day it just occurred to me, why don't I just play the flute and study music? And I had an experience, I think it was my 11th grade year when I was in the Pennsylvania All-State Orchestra. And I just remember playing in a group like that and thinking like, wow, I would love to do this for the rest of my life. And so it kind of just became a natural path that I wanted to take probably around the time I was about 16 years old. So I was maybe a little bit late to get serious about music, perhaps, but it was something that became very clear to me in that moment. I went to the University of Michigan and I studied flute performance and music education because I wasn't still sure if I wanted to play or teach. I just knew that I wanted music in my life somehow. And then, probably toward the end of that time, I decided to really put my eggs in the performance basket, I guess. And then I did my master's degree at Rice University's Shepherd School of Music for 2 years. And right after that, I was a fellow at the New World Symphony in Miami Beach. And while I was there, I was able to audition for the Toronto Symphony and was very lucky to end up with this job here. Toronto's so big, I'm always surprised when I go somewhere I've never been, where it's like, wow, how have I never been here before? And it's just so many different neighborhoods to explore. And that's part of what makes the city so exciting and special. I'm curious about like Leslieville and the Danforth and just different neighborhoods out there, just because I really haven't spent a lot of time. So I live out kind of in the Long Branch area of the city, right on the border of Mississauga, actually. And so before we moved there, I hadn't really been in the area too much, and I didn't know much about it. But we found that we were right across from Marie Curtis Park, which is a really beautiful place to just walk. It's right on Lake Ontario. It's very spacious, and it's never like extraordinarily crowded or anything like that. And so it's just a very nice, peaceful place to go after kind of the hustle and bustle of being downtown. I know that I get to go home to something a little bit more relaxing. So this is a 10-carat gold flute with silver keys by Lillian Burkhardt. It's a flute maker. She's a flute maker based in Boston. As soon as I started playing this one, it was like I can feel it like resonate even like through my fingers, and it just feels like kind of an extension of myself in a way. And I think it's easy to play. The mechanism is really nice, and I just think it allows for a lot of flexibility, both like technically, tonally, musically. It's just a really interesting, beautiful instrument. And something people say about like the properties of 10 karat gold, which honestly, as someone that doesn't really know anything about physics, I can't tell you exactly why, but I guess compared to like other carats, it contains like the warmth of gold, but also a little bit of the brightness and like the zinginess that silver might bring to a flute. And so I think it's a really unique combination of those metals that produces a very special sound.